Villanova's Mikal Bridges is the kind of player that every NBA team is looking for. He's a tall wing, around 6'7", he's a very good three-point shooter, his defense is legit, and he's also athletic enough to dunk on your head. The total package for a player off the ball for today's NBA. And he actually reminds me a lot of Trevor Ariza for his game, but also the kind of role that he's going to play once he gets to the league as well. And we're going to start with Ariza's three-point shot. I think Bridges could actually make out to be a better outside shooter than Ariza, given how good he is, and he's not even in the NBA yet. But when you look at Ariza and how good he is at just playing off of superstar talent and having a high release at 6'8", it allows him to make a lot of contested shots, and I think a similar thing is going to happen with Mikal Bridges once he's in the NBA as well. This season in college, he shot over 40% from three, nearly 45%, while shooting about 6 a game from out there. That's pretty impressive stuff. So he could fit into a lot of NBA offenses right now by just simply standing out on the wing. But where I think he can go to another level as a shooter, to where he could surpass someone like an Ariza, is that he actually shows some ability to shoot on the move. So if you want him to come across screens or receive handoff plays, and he sometimes even reminds me of Kyle Korver in that respect. Now, do I think he's going to get to Korver's level as a shooter? I mean, probably not. But to have a guy who can do more than simply just stand out on the wing, but actually have some sets drawn up for him now and then to really keep the defense guessing, that can allow you to be a pretty valuable offensive player, even if some nights you might only put up, 7 to 12 points or so. I don't know if anybody believes that Bridges is going to be a big-time scorer in the NBA, but if you can make some three-pointers on the move and some contested ones with your tall frame, then that's huge. So even if he's never able to develop his inside game, which we will get to because I think he has some potential there, then he can at least be a nice floor spacer for an NBA team, and that's always a nice thing to have. But if we move on to another aspect of his offense, it's his ability to go off the dribble. Now, he's no point guard, so don't expect him to lead an NBA team's offense. But if we can go back to Trevor Ariza again, I do think Bridges is at least this good, to where if he gets a guy like David West switched onto him, he can take him off the bounce and get to the rim. But Bridges is actually doing this against college defenders who are supposed to be defending him, so wing players and guards and all that, whereas Ariza can typically only attack closeouts and he can occasionally get by perimeter players. So I do think Bridges could be a little better there, but I wouldn't be surprised if the most ball handling we ever see out of Mikal in the league is just moments like this one, another switch in the corner. But if you can already knock down from outside the way that I think Bridges is going to be able to do, and then you can have these occasional moments, then that's just a really quality offensive player, and that's the kind of guy, again, who can just play off of a star player or multiple star players so well, which you need those guys. I know that the James Hardens of the world are the ones who are going to get the attention, but you need guys like Mikal Bridges, right? Now, one interesting thing with his offense is he has shown some signs as a low post scorer. I don't know how often this will be a thing in the NBA either, but if he finds himself on a switch where he's being defended by a smaller guy, and if he could actually take them down onto the block, that could be good as well. And then suddenly you have a guy who can knock down from outside, occasionally go off the dribble, and then also post up on switches. Sure, that's not going to be a 20-point scorer, but that's a pretty nice offensive player to have. And then we get to what's probably his best thing, which is defense, and looking at Ariza one more time, because they're similar in stature. Ariza, his on-ball defense is pretty legit. He's one of the few guys who could actually make Kevin Durant's day not just a cakewalk, so that's good, and I think Bridges can be similar to that. But the thing with Mikal that I think is going to allow him to really be awesome on defense is his athleticism. Dude gets up there. I mean, we've already seen a couple of highlights of him dunking on people, and he uses all that for blocking shots. He also gets into the passing lanes really well, so he could end up being a pretty dynamic defensive player who makes a real difference there. I think his physical attributes will allow him to switch against a lot of teams as well, play a few positions, which is great. And I don't think it's ridiculous to feel that if you fast forward a few seasons, Mikal can be one of the best defenders in the league. Not as much from being a powerhouse, although I do think he has some strength, but more so just being an athlete and just really knowing how to defend. What allowed him to get playing time right away is that the dude's always been a solid defender. As far as what team could draft him, I think around where he's expected to go, which is around number 9 or so, I think Philadelphia would be a great fit because they already have Ben Simmons to lead the offense for them. So whenever he's in isolations, pick and rolls, and in transition, Bridges could be a constant floor spacer. He can join Robert Covington and JJ Redick if he's on the team past this season there. I've also heard some people talk about him being on the Knicks. I don't know about that. I think the Knicks need some creators. Ntilikina has a ways to go in terms of leading an offense, so they may be better off selecting someone like Colin Sexton who can actually get into the teeth of the defense consistently. So wherever Mikal Bridges ends up, that team is going to get themselves just a great role player, if you ask me, an outside shooter who could develop into being one of the better ones in the league, because it seems like he'll be able to do more than just simply spot up. His athleticism and ball handling should make him not just a one-trick pony offensively. And then when you look at all the tools he has defensively, he could end up being a hell of a two-way player.